Does anyone else turn bright red when they sing?
There's a fabulous sciencey reason for this. Jake, you sound incredible. You're being really hard on yourself. You brought up a really good point that teachers and singers are always like pulling our hair out about, right? The reason a singer's face will turn red when they're singing high has to do with the amount of breath pressure they're putting into that sound. When breath pressure is high and we're not letting a lot of air out through the vocal folds like we do on a high mixy bell, that pressure from the lungs pushes on our heart because our heart is like right behind one of our sets of lungs. And as that heart is kind of like being smushed and squeezed by the amount of breath pressure, sending extra blood up into the neck and face, which in turn causes us to appear a little bit red. If you want to get rid of that redness, the good news is, in theory, it's a really easy adjustment. You just got to lower that breath pressure. When you're mixed belting that high, it can be really hard to figure out how to do that. The easiest way I found to do this is to actually use your hand as a quick little like psychological adjustment. Instead of singing to the back of the room, which is often in our subconscious because many of us were told that when we were young. What if the back of the room were right here? So yes, go for the exact same sound in your brain, but sing with your hand right here. Chances are that's going to keep your lungs from pushing a ton of air underneath those firmly closed vocal folds. You can also play around with releasing some of that pressure by allowing more air to flow through the vocal folds, but I'm not sure that's applicable in Jake's specific instance, because if he flows much more air through that sound, he might just like flip right over into like a falsetto-y head voice kind of sound. Simply like based on the range that he is singing in. If you're a teacher and your student is wanting to work on something like this, know that there could be a number of underlying reasons as to why that breath pressure seemingly needs to be so high. Like maybe the instrument isn't functioning to its most optimal because you're dealing with like some major tech neck alignment issues. Maybe it's a day where their vocal folds are a little more swollen and require a little bit more pressure to move them into phonation in the first place. Or maybe they've got extra constriction like right above the vocal folds, forcing the vocal folds together so tightly that it's gonna require, again, that much breath pressure to move them into phonation. There's so many reasons. But I always suggest you start with a simple approach like this first. If you're a singer and you've got questions like this, feel free to make a video and tag me in it. That way I can add it to the content creation list. Happy singing!